Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist to the Abyss, and you're watching my review for World Trigger Episode 1. Okay, this is a manga from Weekly Shonen Jump, and it's getting an anime adaptation. I figured I'd review it because I actually review the manga as well. So, if you're new to my channel and you finish the World Trigger anime in however many weeks it takes, and you decide you want to catch up to the manga too, then you can always check out my reviews for it. But that being said, I'll just get into the episode. It starts off with a flashback that Osamu had of a certain man saving him from a neighbor at one point in his life. I would assume 4 years ago, but I don't really know. Yeah, I won't say too much about that. But yeah, we see this flashback, and then we get a summary of how the world is, I guess you could say. They tell us that one day 4 years ago a gate opened to another world, which is it's kind of cliche, but you don't really need to worry about it that much because as a manga reader, I can actually tell you that it doesn't really impact the series negatively at all. It's still pretty good, so it might be kind of cliche with this backstory, but it's not that big of a deal. But these gates open up to this other world, and from these gates these neighbors come out, or at least that's what they call them, neighbors. Alright, they're really monsters, and they obviously cause chaos when they just start rampaging in the city. Alright, and human weapons actually didn't work against them. So you're thinking, oh well, how do they beat these things? Well, the answer is triggers. Alright, a group of people came along saying that they had prepared for that day, and one of the guys actually looked like the guy from Osamu's flashback. But these guys say that they were preparing for this day, and now they're gonna help fight and take out the neighbors, which gets you thinking, like, well, you were preparing for this day. That must mean that you knew this was going to happen eventually. How exactly did you know that this was going to happen? Okay, like they had did someone tell, like, who predicted, like, what like like they had to have had, like, I don't even know. Like, I mean, I have theories, but I can't actually tell you those theories without spoiling things, so I can't, like, I kind of have to just like leave you guys in the dark here on this one. But I have theories as to how it is they knew that that day was coming, but I can't really say much. But yeah, that's a big question you get out of this. How did you know that this day was coming? But these guys, they beat the neighbors, and they end up forming Border, which is the organization that protects the city from the neighbors. All right. And 4 years after Border has been founded, the gates still open every now and then. The neighbors still come through, but Border is able to take care of everything. All right. And the next thing worth talking about is that in Osamu's class, they're getting a transfer student, which is Yuma. But that's kind of strange to get a transfer student in a city like that where monsters regularly come out and attack the city. So yeah, it's kind of strange for a transfer student to be coming in. And the students pick up on that, and they're saying, oh well, maybe he's in Border. Alright, so like automatically you're thinking, like, there's something up with this transfer student. They're not normal. And sure enough, right on cue, we see Yuma after getting hit by a freaking car. And he's perfectly fine thanks to Replica, which is that floating thing. So clearly the guy is not normal. Your suspicions were confirmed here. This guy is not normal at all. Okay, and he said while he was walking that the reason that he and Replica were late was because he was visiting the base. That could mean one of two things: either he was looking at Border HQ, or he was checking out his house, and he was referring to it as his, I guess, base of operations. Which, because since we didn't really know why he was here, you could have seen it either way. Like, maybe he's I don't know. You could have seen it either way. But yeah, moving on. He eventually gets to the school, and we see Chika Amatori, her classroom. It's Amatori. Crunchyroll said Amatani. No, her name is Chika Amatori. And you see her in the opening, so you know she's going to be relevant at some point. All right. I told you her full name instead of just her last name, but it's not a big deal at all. Don't worry about that. Don't worry at all. But yeah, I gotta give some credit to Toei for the foreshadowing, because this foreshadowing was not in the manga. Chica was not shown here in this chapter at all. So I gotta give some credit to Toei for the foreshadowing that they added in. Um, Though to be fair, that I don't know if they contradicted anything. I need to go back and check to make sure they didn't make any contradictions or anything. But for now, I'll give them credit for the foreshadowing. All right. But eventually, Yuma ends up getting there to this school, and after some trouble involving his ring, some of these girls start talking to him, and they ask him about his hair. Right. And his hair, according to him, his hair used to be black, but one day it just turned white. Like, that's okay. Unless your name is Kaneki, then your hair just does not up and turn white one day. Okay, that's not how it works. Okay, there's gotta be a story here. Okay, this kid is not normal. This kid is not normal. There's gotta be a story behind this. Why his hair turned white one day. There's gotta be a story there. Okay, so that's where I'm interested in hearing about what that. Well, I read the manga, so I know what the story is. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Okay, you know what I mean. All right. After this is when we see these bullies, okay? We had already been introduced to them earlier when Osamu helped out that one kid and gave him this pencil case back. But now the bullies start messing with Yuma. Well, they messed with him with the whole ring thing too, but now the bullies are messing with him again. They're balling up paper and throwing it at him, right? This is where we see Yuma. His pupils turn black, alright? And he returns the green, okay? Goto style, alright? Goto from Hunter x Hunter. Alright, he just like flicks the paper back at them, knocks the dude off his chair, falls to the ground. Okay, that was funny. That was funny. But the fact that he can do that proves that yet again he's not normal. If you needed any more proof, then you got it. He is not normal. Alright, and Osamu, this kid was thinking about it too. He was thinking about you and trying to figure him out because he's just strange. But at the same time, none of the other kids weren't really thinking anything of it. So the fact that Osamu is putting all this thought into it makes you think that there's something up with him as well. Alright, his curiosity is kind of strange in and of itself. Alright. Now, after school, after school, him and Yuma, right, they start walking together. Where? I don't know, but they start walking somewhere. Alright. They start walking somewhere, okay? And Osamu tells him, you shouldn't fight back against them. Alright, now, in the manga, Yuma actually responded to this by saying that in all the countries that he's been to, if you don't fight back, they're going to keep picking on you. Alright? And that goes to show you, that just goes to show you part of, maybe one reason why his attitude is the way it is. Because what happens after this is that the police come back, they bring Yuma and Osamu into the emergence area, which is the place that, it's the emergence areas of the places where all the gates open, where all the neighbors come out, alright? Osamu goes with them, and he pays for it. he gets punched and kicked and just beaten up, really, and Yuma just sits there and watches. He does not do anything at all. He does not help him because he says Osamu got himself into that situation, so he should get himself out. Okay, so clearly he's, I don't know, maybe it was him or maybe it was a friend of his, but he knows someone who has been in a position like that before, where they have been bullied, and he did have to learn from it. He's learned from experience that you have to fight back against bullies in order to get them to stop. Okay, you just have to. Alright, and that's actually what he ends up doing. Okay, the main bully, he picks up the wood and he tries to hit him with it, but Yuma stops him easily. Okay, which you should have seen that coming, okay? If you can stop a car, then you can stop a bully. And that's when the alarms go off to signify that a gate is opening, okay? And Replica, he said it too. He told Yuma from the ring that the neighbors were going to be there soon, and sure enough, they are. Well, one is. And Yuma sees it, and he calls it a Bamster, which means he knows a decent amount about neighbors to be able to pick one out and say that is a Bamster type neighbor. Okay, he must know about neighbors. All right, which again, suspicious. Why does this kid know about neighbors? All right, and Border HQ, they actually, I gotta give them credit. They were on that quick. Well, no, I can't really give them credit because that wasn't in the manga. Again, I have to. The people who deserve the credit are Toei because they added in this foreshadowing. Okay, because they show Border HQ and they show a certain person sending for Miwa Squad to go and handle it. Remember that, Miwa Squad, okay? They're not just some random people. They are actually going to show up and, be important, okay? So remember that. But again, gotta give credit to Toei for the foreshadowing. They're doing work, okay? Maybe not as best as they could, but they are doing something. So they haven't ruined World Trigger yet. So there's still plenty of time for them to ruin it, but they have not completely ruined World Trigger yet. So good, all right. But the Bamster ends up going after the bullies. It gets to 1 because Yuma stomped on his foot, so he's limping and stuff, and he can't get away fast enough, and he trips and falls, and the Bamster gets him. Okay, so the Bamster's got the one kid, and is pretty much eating him, and Yuma says, "Well, just leave him there. Who cares?" They put themselves. He says the same thing he said to Osama. They put themselves in that situation. It's their own fault. Let's go. They can deal with it on their own. But Osamu, just like he has many times in this episode so far, he decides to help, and he activates his trigger and reveals that he's a member of Border. Okay, and he uses his Ray Gust type trigger in order to attack the Bamster, but he can't win. Okay, this dude, his Ray Gust is not piercing the armor that the Bamster has. Okay, he's like a Caterpie trying to beat a Metapod that just used Harden 6 times. Okay, I don't know if you guys have ever tried to beat a Metapod or a Kakuna or something that used Harden 6 times, but that is not fun. That is not fun. Okay, maybe if you have a freaking level 100 fire type, then yeah, it's fine. Going up against a level 5 Metapod, then okay, that's different. But if it's like same level, and you're like first battle of the game, and you're facing a Metapod and used Harden 6 times, that is not fun. And this is not going to be fun for Osamu either if he keeps it up. Alright, so Yuma sees that too, and he decides to go in and help. Okay, he activates his own trigger, and you see here that he's not actually a member of Border, because when Osamu activated his trigger and transformed and stuff, you see that Border logo. Alright, but Yuma doesn't have that, so he's not a member of Border. That's not an official Border trigger, I guess. And it actually, he got it from his father, his late father. His father told him that if he died, he should go to Japan and go to Border because he has a friend that works for Border. Okay. And he says all this to Osamu after he fights and beats the Bamster with ease. I should say with ease. He went and beat the Bamster in like 2 hits. Like seriously, bound, boost, and that was all it took. Okay. And when Yuma beats the Bamster, it actually reminds Osamu of when he got saved back in his flashback in the beginning of the episode. Alright. And what effect that's going to have on him is yet to be seen, but you can kind of assume how it'll affect him though, because Osamu clearly, as we've seen, is the type of guy who likes to help people. He wants to help people, but we've seen 2 major cases now, the flashback and then here now, where he's the one that needs to be saved. Okay, so if anything, this is probably just going to motivate him to work harder. Alright, that's how I see this happening. Alright, but the last thing we see in this episode is the reveal. Right, the reveal that Yuma himself is a neighbor from the other side of the gate. Right, so now you know why he's so not normal, so abnormal. Okay, that's why, because he's a neighbor. All right, and this shows us that not all neighbors are monster-looking things. That some of them are humanoid. There's some humanoid-type neighbors too. All right, so that's interesting to know. That some neighbors are just like mindless creatures that attack, and some neighbors have actual intelligence and look like humans, and can blend in with society. That's actually pretty scary. That the enemies you have, that these enemies of yours can just blend in with the rest of society, and you don't even know they're there. That's a scary thought. All right, we haven't even gotten that in the manga yet. All right, so I'm actually looking forward to a situation like that happening where neighbors blend in and they just don't know. So that's actually something interesting. Maybe that'll happen soon, hopefully. hopefully Daisuke Yashihara, the author, takes advantage of that and does that soon. But yeah, that's the end of the episode. After the episode, we got this little chibi conversation between Yuma and Osamu brought up the concept of Trion bodies, or Trion bodies, whatever you want to call them. I won't get into that because they will probably explain next episode. If not next episode, then the episode after that, but probably next episode. I just thought it was worth mentioning because it's important. So, and they mentioned it here, so I mentioned it here too. All right, and yeah, that's it. That's it for this first episode of World Trigger. I thought it was pretty good. I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10. I honestly thought it was pretty good. With all the build-up that was going on, but building up Osamu's character as this guy who has been through things and needed to be helped before, and now he wants to be the one doing the helping. The build-up of Yuma and kind of building him up to be something this thing that's not normal, and then we learn at the end that's why he's not normal. He's a neighbor, which also has an effect on the series and how you can see things going in the future, as I've stated. Plus, that short fight, while it was short, was still pretty cool to see. Bound, boosted, that was all it took, just like I said. So, I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was pretty good. Like I said, I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10. And that's that, guys. Pretty long review, but there's a lot that needs to be said. So, plus, I've had longer reviews. If you watched my regular Magic High School reviews, then you know I can talk for much longer than this. Okay, though to be fair, 99% of those reviews had live reactions at the end too. And that took up like 15 minutes right there. So, but still, even without the live reaction at the end, my reviews for the regular Magic High School still much longer than this. So yeah, I'll just well, I'm just rambling at this point, so I guess I'll just end the video here. Like I said before, episode gets an 8.5 out of 10, and that's that, guys. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.